Amy, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. So, for those that don't know you, because we're mainly a UK-based podcast and you are all the way in the USA. So, could you just introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Yes, my name is Amie Migirova. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky in the US, and I am a salon owner. The name of my salon is Emma Justine Color and Extension Lounge.
Amazing. So, where, because you're called Amy, right? Or is your first name Emma? Like, where's the name come from?
Yeah, so my first name is Amy, but actually it's kind of an interesting story. So I live with my husband's grandma, who my husband is Russian, so her background is Russian language, and she actually would call me Emma instead of Amy, and we just never really corrected her on that. She passed away a few years ago, and we named the salon kind of in honor of her.
Oh, a lovely story. That's so sweet.
Thank you.
So you own one of the most successful salons in the States. Tell me a little bit about your background. So before you got into business, what was you doing? What was childhood like?
Yeah. So I actually grew up just in a very, very rural community in Indiana. So it's one state over, and just a very kind of small area in the States, kind of country life is how I grew up. And I didn't always know that I wanted to do hair. It wasn't like my favorite thing, growing up or anything like that. I actually got into doing hair because my husband, when we were dating and I had moved to Louisville, he had asked me like, well, what are you gonna do? When we get married, what's your goal? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know what I want to do. And so he had suggested to go to hair school. And I said, okay, sounds good. Let me try it out. And I went and I absolutely just fell in love with hair, with the industry. I knew that it's what I wanted to do and I was very passionate about it. And then shortly after going to hair school, I got into a salon here in Louisville. And I actually I've only worked in three salons, and they were all different types of salons. One was owned by an individual, one was a corporate, and then one was a what we call booth rental salon, where it's just you're renting a space and you pay for that space, and then you kind of take care of your own books and your own clients and kind of do whatever it is that you would like to do. And then when I was in that space, I kind of realized that there was a need for a salon in our community, in our city, that was a little bit more than what was offered here. So that's where I kind of came up with the idea to, open Emma Justine and have something that was different from everything around us. Kind of more it's a little bit more popular now, like culture-based salons. But when I first started doing hair, and then when I started thinking about opening up a salon, it just really wasn't something that was popular, where you had a team that was like that wanted to come to work, that wanted to be in a salon and work with others. The goal was always like, oh, you get into a salon, you build your book, you go booth rental, or now suite owning is a huge thing.
How do you think you created that culture with your team then for them to want to stay and to be part of a team rather than booth renting?
It wasn't easy. And definitely like in this business, it is a learning curve as an owner. You might have these ideas or something that you want to create. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to just do that right off the bat. It was a challenge. I I call it kind of like my first wave, my second wave kind of thing. The first set of stylists that I had in the salon, I learned a lot about people, about managing, about having employees and what that meant, as well as how stylists think. And just being for myself, I've always been a very like passionate about the hair industry. I wanted to work. I would sometimes work, 12-hour days and wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't be like, oh man, I got to get some rest. I had a 12-hour day. It wasn't ever like that for me. And so it definitely, in the beginning of opening the salon, it took a lot of patience with myself and with our team to kind of like grow into something that we have now.
Was your background like with your family in business, or did that come like, was it completely new to you, the business world?
Oh, definitely completely new to me. I feel like my parents they did own a cleaning business, but it was very just them. There was no employee basis, there was nothing like that. So as far as like owning a business to employ others is completely new.
Wow. Okay. So when you first opened the salon, then you started to like hire teams. Did it go straight to the success it's got today, or was it a real like struggle in the beginning?
It was definitely a struggle in the beginning. Like I said, I really didn't have experience with having employees. So it took a while for me to understand what that meant and what I needed to do. A lot of, education, a lot of like just learning through doing it. And so, like I said, I had the salon was very successful when I first opened, like very, very successful. Cause like I was saying earlier, everything was different than what people were used to seeing in this community. The type of salon it is, you guys can go to emmajustinesalon.com and you'll be able to see like photos of the salon inside and out. It was completely different from what other salons here in Louisville, that like the aesthetic was. We also focused on color right from the get-go. We're now specializing in color and extensions. So that's all we do here in the salon. But when we first opened, we did everything with just like a special emphasis on color. And so we drew a lot of people right from the start. So we were able to build our team very, very quickly. When the girls that I had on board at the time, when they first came in, they had zero clientele. We had one girl that had moved from out of state. She had no one, this is the first salon that she worked at in Louisville. She had, no clientele. We had another girl straight out of, or actually two other girls straight out of hair school, no clientele. And, they were able to build in less than a year. And then unfortunately at that point, because we didn't have things in place that we do now, they decided all three at one time to go booth rent, and that was like, boom. And that was a shock to me because I was like, no, I've created this amazing salon. I've created this environment. I've created just like this thing that people want to come in, like they built their book in literally less than a year. And that's not really heard of in this area. So that was a big shock to me and made me realize that I needed to, put some things into place that really made our culture stand out so that people not only wanted to come, but they wanted to stay with us.
What would you say were a few of them things? Because I think it doesn't matter where we are in the world right now. In the UK, that's a very big thing as well. We don't call it booth renters. We have like self-employment and then employed.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of salon owners here are so scared to go down the employment route because of the investment you put into that person, or the training you give them for them to build their columns, like you said, and then go off and do their own thing. And so salon owners just get so protective by that they don't want to go down the employment route. I mean, I'm an advocate for it. I love it. My whole salon runs an employed staff. But what were them tips that you done so that stopped that from happening?
Yeah. So the first thing, it really starts with our interview process. I think, myself included at first, and a lot of salon owners, you're like, I have, stations to fill and people who need their hair done coming in. I need to get these stylists, I need to have stylists for people to be able to see, right? And really it starts from that interview, just hiring the right person, having the right questions, the right kind of details, knowing more about that person than just what you can find out in a 20-30 minute conversation. So in that interview process, we actually do, it's 3 steps really. It's kind of like a phone call, interview. And then if we go through that one and we want to bring them in for a secondary interview, we'll actually have them come into the salon for a full interview, talk to them a little bit more there. And then if they pass that kind of secondary interview, we actually have them come in and spend an entire day in the salon. You know, the first time I did that, I remember the first person that I hired in that aspect, they literally said that when they told somebody that they knew in the industry that they just thought that was just so old school, that you just hire people, like you don't interview them so much, you don't talk to them so much. And I was like, I actually feel like it's more, new school. It's more new school. You should be doing that because you want to find a person that connects with yourself, with your, branding, and with your team. And if you can't find those people, you're not going to have the right fit. And it's just, in the end, it's not going to work out. It's going to mess up your culture in the salon. And then it's going to mess up your team's vibe. And then in the end, it just might not work out completely. So you got to start with those few things. And then after the hiring process, we really, we talk a lot with our team. It's not just like, hey, how are you? We have monthly one-on-ones for each member in our team. So that not only can we talk to them about, hey, here's what's going on in the salon, here's kind of what's going on with the guests, all of that, but then also for them to talk to us. Hey, how are you feeling? Hey, are you doing okay? What's going on in your life right now? Is there anything that you want to talk about? That way they can really have that connection with us and not just view us as this, oh, management, oh, the owner. We really have a connection with each person on our team. And then of course we have our monthly team meetings where we all get together and talk about, the salon as a whole. And then we also do outings with our team. We have monthly education as well as yearly, like a big educational event we'll do once a year outside of the salon. This year we went to Texas, Austin, for the Kevin Murphy hair show. And then the year before that, I don't know if you know what Masters of Balayage is, but it's kind of become pretty popular here in the States. And we went to their summit in Florida last year. So we try to do something pretty big for the team, kind of team building every single year.
So it really is like just treating them, make feel as one, making them feel important, and just really spending that time with them, isn't it? Rather than just, oh, you work for me, work as many hours, get the money in. Like, instead of thinking like that, it's really thinking about them, their welfare. Are they happy? Are they not? What can you do for them?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a constant conversation between me and my management team. Just like, hey, have you noticed any changes? Is there anything that we need to talk about? What can we do to make the team more cohesive? Even in our one-on-one, sometimes we spent half of our one-on-one with one of our girls the other day about her goal is to buy a house, and hey, what can we do to help you do that? She didn't even know where to start. Some young people, they don't have someone that they can go to and ask these questions, and we want to be that for them if they need it. Obviously we don't pry into all of our team's personal lives but we want to give them what we can if they're needing it and wanting it.
You mentioned that you have a management team. So where do you kind of sit with your role within the salon? What's your day to day?
Yeah, so I'm behind the chair currently 3 days a week. It's going to go down to 2 days a week starting in January. So I still am behind the chair. I don't think that I'll ever permanently not be behind the chair. I kind of like being in both sides of the business. And then 3 days a week, really, the rest of the week I'm behind in the office, I guess, is what you would say, working on the other stuff with the salon. I have, like I said, a good team. I have 2 other members in my team that help with the back end stuff, and they do a lot as far as that goes. And I'm just kind of like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is where we want to be. How do we get there? What do we need to do? And we kind of all come together and talk about that.
I love that. You mentioned that you specialize in a limited amount of treatments now. What was it that made you decide to go from everything to just a handful of treatments?
Yeah, so when I before I opened the salon, I was just out on my own. I focused on color. Color correction was actually like probably my biggest thing that I did in the salon. And I started doing extensions. I've been doing extensions for about 10, 11 years now. And it was just kind of off and on. I had a few clients here or there. And about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, I started getting into doing hand-tied extensions. As you know, like that's just kind of blown up over the last couple of years. And I had done every method that you could think of. I was educated and certified in and doing behind the chair. And when this new method came out of beaded row extensions, I kind of jumped on that, and I just really started focusing on extensions at that point. Just from there on out, I was just like, I knew that that's what I wanted to do mainly. And then when I opened the salon, I knew that eventually I wanted to have a specialized salon and do, mostly or all extensions. And I've kind of just grown into that over the years. We've kind of just pivoted where we could to kind of push to that point. And honestly, I know COVID was really, really bad for most salons. But I always say that COVID actually propelled us forward, because we were really, really busy prior to shutdown. We were shut down for 10 weeks here in Kentucky. And, like everybody else, when things reopened, we just kind of got swamped with, we couldn't keep up with the clients, and making sure that everybody was able to get in, get what they needed. We had clients that had extensions that either still had them in way past when they were supposed to get a move up, or had taken them out at home, or whatever it may be, where they were ready to come back in and get refreshed and, kind of get going back into, normal life. So when that happened, all of us were just working as much as possible, trying to fit everybody in, to the point where the entire team, including myself, was just exhausted. We couldn't keep going at that rate. And so that's when we decided, hey, we're gonna cut out some of these services and really focus and do what we've been wanting to do for a while, which was be more on the specialty side. And so we decided to transition into only doing extensions and dimensional color or extensive color services. And really it was a blessing to change that up and to do that. It gave us all the ability to continue to do what we love, and only provide certain services to where we weren't swamped, but we were still able to continue as far as bringing in the same amount, if not more, but doing, maybe only 2 to 3 clients behind the chair per day versus doing, there would be some days we would have 5, 6, 7, 8, clients at a time, or sorry, in one day. And so it really did help us to have that lockdown, and it really pushed us more into what our goal was.
Because I was going to touch on the finance side of things, because so I guess a lot of us think that the more services we offer, the more money we'll be able to take. But then I guess you can't concentrate on every single thing then, can you? Whereas if you specialize, do you also find that clients will travel further afield because you're specialists?
Yes, absolutely. I've had, especially when I first started doing hand-tied extensions, I would have people come from out of state. I had one girl, she would come from West Virginia. She would drive like 4 hours to come in. She actually was on an MTV show, so that really spoke a lot to me. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Somebody from Teen Mom is where she was from. She was driving to come to see me in just little Louisville, Kentucky. And that kind of like really sparked me into thinking, man, if this is happening, we can do so much more. We can push ourselves into being able to be specialty focused, and it's okay because they will come, they will pay for specialty services, and our training only focuses on those services. So that's what we're the best at. We don't do pixie cuts, we don't do bobs, we don't do, base colors, things like that, if they're not obviously with extensions on the color side. So we don't focus our education on that. So we become better at what we are focusing on.
I do really, really like that. And I think it's really good for people to think about that if they are doing so many services. And I always say when I'm coaching myself, because I'm a business coach as well as a podcaster, and I always say, just look at the services and actually see what is bringing you money and what's not. Sometimes we think that one service is bringing so much more than it actually is, until you start breaking it down and seeing where the profit is and where you can make more money. It's really, really interesting.
Absolutely. One of my girls, she was very nervous about the transition. She had a lot of regular clients for just individual services, and it was very nerve-wracking for her. And I kind of had to sit down with her and really one-on-one say, hey, let's look at this. If you can do these services and you have 2, maybe 3 clients in a day max, look at this versus you having 6, 7 clients in a day, and you're double booking, and you're trying to, you're on such a time limit, with each person, and you're trying to get them in and get them out. Not only make them happy, but also, be bound to that time frame. And it's just, you're on your feet all day. You have no time to even go get lunch or use the restroom or just sit down for 5 seconds and get off of your feet. And this is how much this would be, and this is how much this would be. Think about it. Is it worth for you to really break your back all day, every day, or kind of calm down a little bit, take a little bit of time, work with each of these, 1 to 3 guests in a day, and, really be bringing in the same amount, if not more, than what you would be with a full day of individual clients.
Because you're huge when it comes to providing that elevated guest experience, and I know that you believe that's one of your keys to success.
Absolutely.
Could you tell me more on how your salon implements this?
Yeah, it's actually something that we talk about with our team, every single team meeting. That is one of our main focuses, because when you're providing a luxury service like extensions or, dimensional color, like advanced coloring services, these are not just, $50 tickets, that people just come in, they're here for a little bit and then they leave. They're here for hours at a time, and their ticket reflects that. So we talk about customer experience all the time. We want to make sure that from the moment somebody walks in the door, the way that they're greeted, they're not just standing there waiting for someone to acknowledge them. We've all been in that situation, whether it's in a restaurant or a nail salon or, wherever, we ourselves are receiving service from, where you're just like, hello, is anybody going to acknowledge that I'm here? I don't want any of our guests to ever feel like that. We're very big on using each guest's name. Obviously, as stylists, we don't know everyone's name that walks in the door, but we try to not only recognize someone who sits in our chair normally, but those who come into the salon overall with other stylists. Hey, how are you today? What are you doing? How's your life? Where we can. And then the receptionist is there to greet them, obviously offer them a glass of water. Something so simple that we changed in our salon was, instead of offering just bottles of water, we offer in-house, we make a lemon cucumber water, and we serve it in a glass, just something so simple with a little lemon garnish. And it just elevates that kind of feeling, that luxury experience of just having a glass. You don't normally walk into a restaurant and, order a nice drink and it's served in a plastic cup, right? You're going to get it with a little garnish. It's going to be in a glass. So even just the water can make your customer experience that little bit better. Obviously we offer snacks in the salon that might not be too different from other salons, but that's something that we do. And then also if someone is in the salon for an extended period of time, we'll offer them, hey, can we order you some lunch? Just something so simple as that, because guess what? If you're here for 4, 5, 6 hours, a bag of Skinny Pop is not going to cover it. You start to get hungry, and something like that. They're just like, sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, that would be so amazing. And sometimes almost they're embarrassed that we offered, they're like, oh, I'm sorry. No, I can order lunch. No, we want to do that for you because you're here. We want you to have the best experience possible. And then of course, as a whole, our team just interacting with the clients, I think it's just such a huge thing that the industry lacks is, you can get to this point where it's my client, and you don't want to be nice to other clients. Or just from, my experience in other salons, I saw that a lot, just that cattiness of everyone being very my client oriented rather than it's our clients, it's our guests. We want to treat them as if they were going to be sitting in our chair. So that really is a huge impact on all of our guests for sure.
It's a huge thing, customer service. I mean, I always use the story of, you can go to like a top restaurant and the service might be okay, but the food's exceptional, or you can go to an okay restaurant where the food's okay, but the service is amazing. You're more than likely to go back to the one that gave you the best customer service every single time, rather than the one that was amazing food but okay customer service. So all them little touches that you can put into the business makes such a difference.
Details matter for sure.
They do, definitely. Do you find that when someone joins a team, it's hard for them to get on that level of you guys as well, or do you manage to ingrain that quite quickly?
It kind of goes back to the initial interview, really talking that, we definitely talk about that in our interviews. Hey, this is how we do. And this has to be from day one. We can't really slack on that because you're new. If anything, even if you don't know the answer to something, it's completely okay. It's just how you say something, how you react. Just putting a smile on your face when someone walks in the door speaks very loudly. Even if you don't know what you need to do, say they ask for something that you weren't sure how to do. Oh, I'm not really sure, but let me go grab my manager and we'll make sure that we get that taken care of for you right away. Something just so simple like that is kind of the key. So ingraining, we do talk a lot about it, and we train according to guest, service guest experience. It's not always easy. It has a lot to do with personality as well. And you don't always see that personality right away when you hire someone. So we're actually working on right now putting together kind of like a, not just front desk training, but also just in general, anyone onboarding into the salon, having videos of kind of like guest interaction, conversation, and how our guest experience looks like and what we need it to look like from day one of someone coming on board.
It's interesting you said about the videos. It's a very big thing now when it comes to training teams to do everything by video, because it's just so much more visual, isn't it? And rather than you or a manager having to train someone over and over again, or when you're recruiting however many stylists, you have to physically deliver it yourself. But when they can sit and do their training on video, it's actually really powerful and a way to systemize the business.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very big on systemizing because the bigger the salon grows, or the more in depth everything is in the salon, the harder it is to do that one-on-one training. So you need the biggest impact that you can with the, I wouldn't say the smallest amount of time spent, because even as management, you want to spend time with training one-on-one, but it's really nice to have things prepared for you, and hey, go through all of this and then we'll spend this time together doing it. And so, yeah, I believe strongly in video training, and then, handbooks and referring back to those. It just makes things a lot easier on the management side for sure.
Definitely. So over the years of business, what would you say has maybe been your like biggest struggle so far where you thought, "Ugh, do you know what? I just want to chuck the towel in." Have you ever had one of them moments?
Yes, and that was probably when we didn't do a thorough interview and have hired the wrong people in the past. I would say that was probably like the biggest thing, where it's just like, oh, forget it. And that was really on us as management for not following the process. And we learned from it, and we're continuing to keep going and learning from that experience.
Mm. And those that are listening now that might be thinking of opening a salon, or actually, no, let's say they've opened a salon, but they haven't taken that step yet to create a team, what would your piece of advice be to them?
Yeah, don't rush. Know what you want to create before you get started. Have that kind of that idea of what you want your salon to not only look like, because I feel like we're very visual people, stylists, right? So we want this to look like this, and we want our clients to feel like this. But also know really how you want your team to be. What do you want your customer service to look like, or your customer experience to look like? What would you like your culture in the salon to be? Know all of those things and really write it out in detail, because that was one thing that I had an idea of what I wanted, but it wasn't something that I had really focused on, written down, knew exactly where I wanted to be, have a game plan. And it took years of really kind of maneuvering things and understanding more and more to get to that point, because I didn't have that vision right away. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't have the direct vision for the future. So, you really need to put together kind of a vision for, okay, when I open the salon, what is that going to look like? What is it going to look like a year after I open the salon? What is it going to look like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And obviously things change. You're going to want to add or take away from that. But as long as you kind of create that timeline and that vision, you can work towards something, and you can edit as you go as far as what it's changing into.
Amazing advice. Thank you for that. Amie, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Can you let us know where people can connect with you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously social media, just at Emma Justine Salon on all platforms. And then of course, on our website, emmajustinesalon.com, you can, there's a contact card on there. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us there, and I'll definitely look through those and answer any questions that I can, for sure.
Amazing. So those listening, go and follow Amie, drop her a message. If you love the show, then please share it on socials so we can reach as many other stylists, beauticians, salon owners as possible. We'd be really grateful. Thank you for your time, Amie.
Thank you.